Quick disclaimer before we begin, the PEMF podcast does not contain any medical advice, and the content provided is for informational purposes only. If you have any health concerns, please visit a healthcare professional. Welcome back to another episode of the PEMF podcast, and today we're going to be focusing around red light therapy and how you can use PEMF and red light therapy. Because we're finding that it's a great combination therapy and it stacks really well together. So today we've got a red light therapy expert who's going to be talking to us all about red light therapy, and also known as photobiomodulation, which we'll come to. And our special guest is coming to us all the way from Mexico today, and that's Bart Wolbers. For anyone who may not know you, Bart, can you just introduce us, tell us a little bit about your background and who you're working with and all that stuff at the moment?
Sure. My name is Bart. I've been working for a website called Light Therapy Insiders, and we met at the Health Optimization Summit this year and also last year. And my specialty right now is in red light therapy. I've been researching the topic for many years. In 2017, I messaged Alec Fergus, who is like the face of the YouTube channel on red light therapy. I messaged him like, do you want to hire somebody as a writer, because I had been writing in biohacking for a few years, and then I messaged him and he was like, no, we don't need writers. But then I sent him like a complete article on red light therapy. I told him like, this topic you've been missing on the website, and then he hired me, and since then I've been working for Alex in part. And so probably for like 7 or 8 years, I've been in the red light therapy space. And since maybe 2 years ago, we've really specialized into that topic. So we no longer like have biohacking in general, but we have a website specifically on light therapy. And that's how all this got started.
So I introduced you as coming to us from Mexico. Our listeners are probably thinking it doesn't sound very Mexican. Whereabouts are you from originally, Bart, and why are you in Mexico?
So originally I'm from the Netherlands. I've lived there for like maybe my first 33 years. I'm 38 now. So, since many years I've been traveling around in North, Middle, South America. Because the weather is really very nice here, and because this is a very health promoting environment compared to Europe in the winter or in the fall. Europe is wonderful in the summer, but outside that, also, mainly because of the lighting, I think it's suboptimal for your health. So I've been living in Mexico and Peru, Brazil for many years now. Yeah,
so you know the benefits of red light therapy, so you're kind of following the sun around, so to speak.
Yeah. And actually, this is maybe not the best promotion, but I use red light therapy when I'm in Europe, but here in North or South America, I think I generally don't need it, and I just get out in the sun in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening, and that's it. That's all you need. But if you live in Europe or in North America, like in the north of the US or in Canada or in the southern part of Australia, the southern part of New Zealand, then often there's not enough sun to come around, and it's often dark for a large part of the year, or it's cloudy, and then in those cases, many people are affected by, what I would call a sunlight deficiency, and then there's a huge gain in your health that you can make by just adding the red and the near infrared part of the spectrum to your daily regimen as a supplement in a way.
And the sad part about the way we live these days, I'm just as bad myself, and I live in the UK, but I'm experiencing quite nice weather at the moment. I can see out the window; it's nice and sunny, but I'm still sitting for 8 hours, 9 hours a day in my office, and I'm not even experiencing it. So we're all slaves to the working world these days. But anyway, let's introduce what's your best explanation in a summary recap of what is red light therapy, or also known as photobiomodulation. And I think if I get that correct, it's the same thing.
The people working in the research will say it's not the same thing, but it's a definition. Like the definitions evolve. Like it used to be called low-level laser therapy, but now we've got the LEDs that even you're using. So now the definitions has changed. James Keller will tell you that it's not the same thing, but for me, for me and anybody
for the
else,
average user,
Oh yeah, sure. What it does is your cells are affected by light in your environment. So once you shine light on your tissue, there is a biological effect. The effect differs. So UV light or the visible light, which is like violet, blue, green, red, and parts in between, and the infrared, which is what eats your tissue or what feels like hot, that all has like a biological effect. So some of these parts of the light spectrum, that's the way it's called in physics, the red and near infrared, they have like a real healing benefit because they enhance the amount of energy that's created in the cell in a very good way. Generally, when we look at diseases, the sicker you are, the more benefit it will have. So for like an 18-year-old, it might not have too much of it might not make too much of a difference, but if you're 70 years old and you have Alzheimer's disease and diabetes, then it can make a big difference. Also, in a few weeks or in a few months, according to the studies. There's a lot of discussion about the exact biological mechanisms, but what's generally accepted is if you shine light, the red and near infrared spectrum on your tissue, then there will be it will in your mitochondria, which are the energy producing factories of your cells, it will increase the amount of energy that's created. It will also lower inflammation. It will reduce oxidative stress, which is like a byproduct of energy production. So for many different mechanisms, it will basically make you healthier. Across the board. So
we say it works. I mean, PEMF therapy, we say works on a cellular level, and the same sort of thing with red light therapy. It's affecting the cells of the body. It's creating that environment in the body to heal. So what would you say in terms of what's the most common use of red light therapy? Who would benefit the most, even though that's quite a broad spectrum, because same thing with PEMF, it helps a lot of different things. But where do you think is the main applications for these?
I think it is a general tool, just like exercises, just like eating a healthy diet and avoiding like junk food. It is a general tool that can make you healthier across the board. It doesn't really matter whether it's about sleep quality or about avoiding heart disease or diabetes, or just performing better in the gym, or if you want to improve your eye health or whatever, almost whatever. Not in every case, because there's some cases where I think the evidence is not as strong, but in almost every case, it will support your health in the same way that exercise does, right? Or in the same way that eating a healthy diet does. Once you stop eating junk food, your health will generally improve. Or stop drinking soda, which is loaded with sugar. Once you implement red light therapy, if you live in an environment where there's almost no light, so where I'm from in Northern Europe, it will often make a big difference in your health. Some people, they don't respond the way other people do. So just the way you can have some individuals, they're very lucky and they can get away with eating junk food 24/7 and still be healthy. And in the same way, some people don't respond to light therapy like others, but generally, your health will improve a lot by implementing this.
So is this the same as sitting under the sun?
That is a big discussion. I think
not a simple answer.
Sure. That's another whole rabbit hole to go into. I have my opinion on this. I think if I could travel with like a big red light therapy panel and put it in my carry-on bag, or somehow in my luggage I would do it. I don't do that, but I think red light therapy, especially if you apply it at a high power output and close to the skin or even directly on the skin, it has additional benefits over and above sunlight. But sunlight has benefits too, that you right now, because the way these panels or whatever product you think about, like a wand that you put on the skin or like a handheld device, these products are designed in a way that they only most of the products, they only emit red and near infrared lights. If you're lucky, there's a little bit of green or blue in there, but they don't emit the full spectrum that the sun does. And if you could, sunlight has some additional benefits that red light therapy doesn't have, in my opinion, which is maybe not the scientific consensus, but my opinion is that red light therapy has some benefits that sunlight doesn't have either.
Yeah, and I think it's all about the application, because, for people and the risks involved, if people sit under the sun for 5 hours a day, protection, obviously there's a lot about sun protection these days. The risk involved is sunburn, the obvious risk.
Sure.
So, and it's been, the sunlight has been demonized a bit, I think, by the media over the years in terms of...
I completely agree.
Yeah, so it's kind of like...
Especially where you live, because there basically is no sun. Well, there is no sun most of the year.
Yeah. So in terms of comparing that to red light therapy, are there risks involved with red light therapy and using a red light panel?
No, there's no risk of sunburn. You can overdo it. So especially if you have chronic health conditions, you need to be careful, because the light not only acts as a nutrient, it's also certainly a stressor. In a way, so it's a hormetic stressor. Hormetic means that the light, once you apply a little bit of stress, the body gets stronger and adjusts to that in the same way that exercise will. Or if you use cold showers, in time you'll adapt to the cold. If you get into an infrared sauna, in time you'll sweat less and get more adapted to the heat. And red light therapy is similar. If you've got like fibromyalgia and heart disease and diabetes, start slow with the red light therapy, because it can give some side effects. But in terms of sunburn, there's no ultraviolet light involved, so you kind of get a sunburn. But and even the research there shows that red light therapy will help you not only prevent the sunburn, which the evidence is quite strong on, but also treat the sunburn. There's some evidence in that. So, especially not only scientifically but anecdotally. So my good friend Alex Fergus from Light Therapy Insiders, he will tell you that if he has a sunburn in New Zealand, he'll use red light therapy twice a day, and then it will magically go away. And otherwise, it would have lasted like 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Yeah,
and that was actually one of my questions we're going to come to, because again, it seems confusing if you burn yourself under sunlight. The treatment most people wouldn't think would be to expose yourself to more light, but like you say, that's where the sun and red light therapy differs in terms of that's going to help actually the treatment side of things. So no, it's really good to hear.
It is the ultraviolet light, the UVA and UVB, that causes the sunburn. They're a little bit different, but both of them can cause a sunburn in a different way. The melanin in the skin, it responds a little bit different to the UVA, UVB, but the red and near infrared, which you would mostly get predominantly from like a morning sun or evening sun just before the sunset, it is very healing, and it will prevent the sunburn in the sense that you can stay in the sun for longer before you get a sunburn, but also it will heal the skin quicker. Yeah.
Okay, no, cool. So, I mean, we're getting more involved. We've been involved in PEMF now for 10 years, and within the last year, we're getting more heavily involved in red light therapy because we're seeing how the benefits are stacking up together. We were trialing a bunch of red light panels, and some of those red light panels were inducing some redness from the skin. So does that differ from sunburn? What's the redness that's coming from the red light panels?
I've heard that. I've not experienced it, but we have a Facebook group with almost 10,000 people on red light therapy and some people we take every potential side effect very seriously, right? Some people seem to have redness after using a red light therapy panel. I don't know why, but even people describe it as a sunburn on their part. Yeah. And I think generally people need to, and this is not a side effect that's described in the scientific literature, right? Because most of the research, even though there are like 8 or 9,000 studies right now on light therapy in general, most of the studies, they don't use the very big LED panels that will treat your entire body. So that's why we probably don't have any research on the topic. But number one, just lower the dosage. So if you're treating your skin for 20 minutes a day, do it for 10 or maybe for 5 and see how you respond to that. And number two is don't worry too much about it because it's not a UV-induced sunburn.
And it could come down to increased circulation in the area too, and redness from blood flow and that sort of thing.
Sure, it can be blood flow. In the same way, if you go to a sauna, if I go to a sauna in Finland, then I'll be red throughout the body, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. It's just like a natural response in terms of blood flow to the stimulus. So,
So most red light panels on the market, you mentioned before, they come with near infrared and red light. So what's the main difference between those two types of lights?
So the scientific consensus here is that near infrared will penetrate deeper into the body, so you'll have more of a deeper effect onto the muscles, bones, etc. Red light therapy has more of a superficial effect, so it will affect more of the skin or like tendons or ligaments that are closely that are on the surface of the body. But I think both are
complementary in terms.
There's no reason to choose between either of them. Both have very beneficial effects. Both would need to, if you want maximum health effects, both, I would always include both and not either or. Because that's a whole different rabbit hole, but there's a whole discussion about what's the effect of different wavelengths. I've done a lot of research on that. Maybe you've read it, maybe not, but Alex he pays me to go into these topics for many weeks at an end and then write an article about like what are the effects of like 810 or 830 or 850. I've done blogs on all these. I cannot tell you for certain, not with 100% certainty whether they're true. There probably is, but whether there truly is like a difference between 810 and 850. But if you strictly look at the evidence, there is a difference between them. But we would need new studies on that topic to really know for sure or for certain whether
which is best.
There is a difference. And then if you make that argument, then you could do the same for the difference between red light and near infrared light. Is there a difference between 760 or 700 or between 700 and 660? Probably, but you don't know for sure.
So panels kind of come with different wavelengths, like you've just mentioned. Is the general rule of thumb, if you were saying to someone looking out for a panel, to get more than less? Is it always better to have more wavelengths available, or would you say stick to a certain one?
I think generally it's better to have more wavelengths. I assume that there is a biological difference between different wavelengths. In the same way, we have studies on blue light, right? So there's a difference between blue light at like 425 and 460, and there's a difference between 460 and green light at like 515 or 560 nanometers. I assume that there's a difference between 630 and 660 and a little bit of difference between 810 and 1060. I think there is, But to know for sure, you just need human studies that investigate the topic if you really want absolute certainty on the topic. And it also mimics the sunlight, right? That's the topic we've been talking about before. If you go outside where you live right now or where I live right now, then you'll be exposed to UV, to green, to UV, blue, violet, green, orange, and everything in between. All the different wavelengths. And many of these wavelengths have proven benefits, and including as many of them as you can in a panel is beneficial, I think.
Yeah.
But like 10 years down the road, I may be wrong on this and I need to change my position. So
yeah. So I mean, talking about people like looking at, they might be coming into this very new and they want to find a way of applying red light therapy. How do people apply? You've mentioned panels. We're bringing out, we've now got access to a full body panel, and we're looking at the desktop ones now too, because again, people don't have time to apply full body sometimes. They want a desktop one to do it at work. But what other ways are there of applying red light therapy?
Well, you have the wands. Mm-hmm. So that's like, or the spot treatment products, so there's like a scale, right, from a very small treatment area to a very big one. So if you get into the very small area, you get into the wands, which you can apply. Yeah, that's what people do for like facial beauty. Mm-hmm. Where you can apply it sitting at the couch while you're watching Netflix for like 20 minutes each day, and it will have effects. Then in terms of spot treatment, there are also the products that you can apply, like a handheld unit that you can apply to the face, which is like this size, to the face or to your knee or to a sore elbow if you have it. Then in the middle there are the tabletop panels, which those are the desktop products that you talk about, which treat like an area maybe this size. And Alex Fergus has done experiments with this, and basically what we find in the experiments is it will treat the area more or less straight out of the product. So if the product is this size, you won't get much treatment outside that. Yeah,
so it's pretty much the same size as the product is the treatment area you're going to ultimately get.
More or less. Okay. And the best treatment is in the middle of it, of course, because there are more LEDs in that. But and so if you really want like the full body treatment, you'll need the larger panels. So you can have a wall panel that is like the size of part of my body, and then you can treat part of it, and then you can have a wall panel which is like really large, like the door maybe behind me, which will treat your entire body, and you just need to turn around once, and then you'll treat it the entire body, maybe in 10 minutes, maybe in 20.
And I suppose it depends on the device you have, but I'm under the understanding you want to be about 6 to 8 inches away from the LEDs. Is that correct?
Generally, for good power output, for decent power output, you want to be 6 inches away. But some of the research I've seen is actually, there's a researcher in the space, and Relator, who I disagree with a lot. But one thing I don't disagree with him on right now is that there is better penetration and potentially a better biological effect of red light therapy when you do apply it directly to the skin. So, especially for deep penetration, for joint health, for whatever goal you have. Maybe not for the skin, but for many other reasons you would apply red light therapy. There's some benefit, I think, for applying it directly to the skin. So But again, we talked about the stress effect, right? So if you have the same example as before, if you have fibromyalgia, heart disease, diabetes, then you might need to stand 6 inches away at first, or maybe even permanently, because it's too much of a stressor. just like, if you have those health conditions, and it would stress you the same way as 2 hours of exercise. You cannot do 2 hours of exercise if you're in that kind of a health state. And in the same way, you might not be able to do, I'm not sure, but you can test for yourself. You might not be able to apply the red light therapy directly to the skin in that case across your entire body.
Yeah.
And then there's another case of applying red light therapy directly to the body when there's only a small area, like some devices, they are meant for the joints, right? So you wrap them around the joint and it will apply red light therapy there. I think that is generally very safe. But for the entire body, if you treat large parts of the body directly at the skin, I think, with disease, you need to be more careful.
Yeah. So I think the biggest takeaway from that really is like, you can't just buy a small desktop unit and stand 2 meters away from it and get a full body treatment. You know, if you want a full body session, you kind of need to get a big full body application.
Sure.
What are the kind of common mistakes and misconceptions about red light therapy that people should be aware of? Like, a few people have asked us already, like, is this like a sunbed?
There are literally, and Alex was just, I think he's doing a video on it, or, well, he's about to probably, but like people are equating it directly, some dermatologists, because I think this is somewhat dangerous to the dermatology industry because, well, it's not only the red light, the blue light, the green light, they have, and even the yellow light, they have pretty big effects on skin for many people. So you've now got videos from dermatologists telling people to be careful with red light therapy because it will have the same harms as UV light. Again, I'm not against UV light. I think it's very essential for the health, but you shouldn't overdo it, just like exercise. But that's a common misconception. Maybe also the one that you mentioned. You cannot get like a small panel that I put on my desk here and expect that you will have full body benefits. You can, of course, but then you would need to move it around, like do 20 minutes treatment here, do 20 minutes here, do 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, and before you know it, you're like 4 or 5 hours into the day, and it's very inefficient. So that's why ideally you would want a big panel if you can afford it, and that's the biggest issue I think with many people. Price. Sure, everybody wants like a full body setup, but for now, even though prices have been coming down over the years, which is a very good thing, now it is more expensive for many people.
And I think one that I've had a few times, just like you won't get sunburn, you won't effectively get a suntan from a red light panel either. But one thing that I kind of like to respond to that, and I feel like that has happened a lot with myself, is I don't get a suntan from my panel, but my skin looks significantly healthier and a lot nicer. So it kind of has a better complexion.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's a byproduct of using the therapy.
Sure. And in that area, I've done a very detailed blog on this. Maybe going through 80 studies or something. I'm not sure. A ton at least. And some of the best studies, they show like those are more or less the ballpark numbers of 50% increase or 70% increase in collagen. More firmness, better hydration of the skin, better. Of course, subjectively, when you look at it from the outside, it looks a lot better. So, the benefits are very nice in that area.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm actually 38 this year as well, but I'm the same age as you. But it's something that I've noticed, and I've been having compliments, blowing my own trumpet here, is since I've been using the red light panels, a few people have accused me of using Botox. So I'm going to take that as a compliment. One other topic that's quite hotly debated at the moment is eye health, and some manufacturers are saying stare directly into the LEDs that are coming from the red light panels. What are your thoughts on this, and does red light therapy help with eye health?
Just a question, did you read my blog on this topic?
I haven't yet, no.
Really?
We'll link that under this podcast.
So I basically went through all the studies, all the, not just cherry pick a few. I went through all the studies on eye health, and I think it's beneficial, and I think it's very safe if you do it properly. So it depends a little bit on the condition. So it's different for like diabetic retinopathy or age-related macular degeneration or corneal injury, which you need a very low dose for instance. For the other ones, not so much. But it's very safe if you apply for 2 or 3 minutes a dose of 40 to 60, 70 milliwatts of centimeter squared. That's it. And that is the same dose you would be getting from in terms of red and near-infrared, from what you will be getting from going outside on a sunny day. The only thing I will say about that is, from most panels on the market, you would probably get that dose from like 8 or 10 inches away, because panels are pretty powerful right now, and you wouldn't need to look directly into it because the light needs to go into the back of the eye, because there you have the retina and macula, which are very biological active tissues that are also regenerated by the red and infrared light. But generally, if you do it for 2 to 3 minutes, it's very healing. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't overdo it. So I also think you don't need to look directly into the panel for 20 minutes. That's not the case I'm making. I'm making a case, get some exposure to the red and infrared for 2 or 3 minutes a day. And even on Alex Fergus's YouTube channel, my interview on this that we did in London after I met you on the Health Optimization Summit. Alex interviewed me about this topic, and we'll be uploading that in the coming 2 or 3 weeks, which is specifically about radiotherapy and eye health, in which I go into much more detail about this.
Yeah, so I mean, I tend to like to close my eyes when I'm using my full body panel. It's quite bright, but what we're saying is that the near infrared is affecting eye health anyway, even with your eyes closed. Is that?
Probably, yeah. But to get the full benefit, you will probably need to open your eyes, and if it's uncomfortable, don't do it, and gradually build up to some exposure. And also, some people, they're very sensitive to the light, right? So I have some friends from college who will never go outside without sunglasses, and they're very sensitive to the light, and they tell me that they literally cannot see when they're outside if they don't wear the sunglasses. So that's like a person who should be more careful and build up slowly to those. So you stand maybe 20 inches away, and maybe after a week you stand 15 inches away from panel. Ideally, especially because much of the research is on red light for eye health and not for near infrared, but lots of the research is on red light. You would want to keep your eyes open. Again, it's nothing crazy. If you're in London during a sunny day, you're getting 40 to 50 to 60 milliwatts over centimeter squared for red and near infrared for many hours when you're just walking outside. So the only thing I'm arguing is like 2 or 3 minutes. And the reason it works I think, that's my theory. I cannot prove it. But the reason I think this works is because many people, they never go outside anymore, right? So many people in the UK, they never go outside. When they're outside, they wear sunglasses, and they never get any bright light exposure to their eyes ever during the day.
We're becoming soft, all our creature comforts in the home, and it's breaking us.
I think you're right about that.
So one thing that PEMF really helps for is sleep. And I know red light has the similar sort of benefits. What about with circadian rhythm and that sort of thing? Like I personally don't tend to use my red light panel after the sun's gone down, but I think that's because I just heard that once, and I've kind of stuck to that rule. Is that what would you suggest in terms of using it late into the evening?
I also researched this topic in great detail. When I wrote the blog article like maybe 6 months ago, there were like 4 studies on radiotherapy and sleep, which were all positive. There was one study from the Nova Flora, which is like the radiotherapy bed that James Carroll sells in your country in the UK, and they actually noticed that people needed 40 minutes of less sleep. Elite soccer players, right? So it's not like the average. It's like the top top of the bill. Soccer players needed like 40 minutes of less sleep per night. Then there was one study with women, I think, from the Chinese army, where they showed 80% improvements in melatonin production when they used only the 660 in a bed over time. There's one study where they showed improved alertness during the day and improved mood. And there's a first study, I think it was on like patients with a brain condition, but I'm not sure about it. And recently I sent out a newsletter that there was like a fifth study on this topic, but generally not even looking at the circadian benefits, because the circadian benefits, generally what you would want to have blue light for that, right? So you want, if you want to set your circadian rhythm, you want some blue light into your eye. That's the way evolution works. So like 10,000 years ago, we would go outside, see the sun during the morning, and then the blue light would tell your brain it's daytime, and you have a clock in your brain, which is in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that clock tells all the clocks in all your cells that it's daytime. At least that's a central clock. You have a pair of peripheral clocks all across your body that should follow the central clock. And yeah, blue light works for that. Generally, red light therapy won't have much of a circadian effect, but red light therapy will. From the 5 studies that are published on the topic, 5 are positive. So on the elite soccer player topic that I just went into, the 40 minutes of less sleep didn't mean that that their recovery was worse. They actually recovered better, and they performed better. They just needed less sleep during the night because of using the bed. The study with the women who were in the Chinese military, they performed better on physical tests, and they had like, I don't know the exact outcome, but maybe it was like on a kilometer run or something, maybe a mile. I don't know the exact outcome, but they performed significantly better than their counterparts who didn't use only the red light, not the infrared, doing a bed for 30 minutes per day.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. So the part of the podcast probably everyone's waiting for, and they want to know, is this red light going to make them look younger? We've already mentioned that, I'm getting nice compliments since I'm using the red light therapy, but what is red light therapy doing to people's skin, and how is it reducing wrinkles, and how is it going to make me look young forever?
I won't promise forever, but likely if you look at the studies for like 70, 80, 90% of people, they do show some improvement. So you have improved collagen synthesis, improved elastin, which makes your skin like more elastic, which is something that you will lose as you age. Also, if you look at the studies, and if you have like a researcher who doesn't know whether people got the red light therapy treatment or not, the researcher will generally rate the skin of the people who did receive the red light therapy treatment as much younger. Some of the best studies here are done with masks, which it's like
you see those on social media quite a lot.
Well, activated with a button, and then you get the results. That's probably the more interesting thing for women, but for the best results, I think you need a panel and get the benefit across all your body. So I'm a little bit more skeptical about masks because it only treats your face. It's nice for appearance, and I know many women probably listening to this, and some men who don't want to admit it. They care mostly about the skin, but your entire body can benefit from this, and there is no need to only treat your face. If you have the financial means to get treatment for your entire body, don't just focus on the face.
I think that's a really good point. Because the same with PEMF, people come to us with like a knee arthritis or something, and they think that they're just going to apply a device on the knee and it's going to fix that issue, but they're forgetting about the whole circulatory system and fixing the whole body, complementing the whole body is going to accelerate it in that area. Same sort of thing, like you say, just putting a mask on is going to have small benefits, but if you really want to hit that hard, then focus on the whole body and not just the kind of localized thing. So you mentioned athletes using red light therapy as well, and something that PEMF really benefits for is ATP usage. So it really helps the body to use ATP. But how can red light influence ATP production?
There's some scientific discussion about it. Generally, the consensus is that inflammation goes down, ATP production goes up, and that those two are interrelated. So as you age, there's more inflammation, more oxidative stress, which are also interrelated, and ATP production, which is normally regarded as currency of of energy in the cell, that comes down. That increases big time. The only thing I disagree about, maybe I'm not 100% sure about this, is the mechanism. I think there's not only, well, this ties into the PEMF stuff, because I think the whole ATP thing is not just chemical, but electrochemical. So there's electricity involved, and there's electricity keeping up the energy of the cell at the most foundational level.
No, good. Lastly, on this kind of point, we've seen a lot of people start using red light therapy for arthritis. So is this like a key area, and is there any studies around the whole usage for arthritis with red light therapy?
Yeah, sure. The studies on this topic, they're very positive, very, 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 very positive, because often I was trained as a physical therapist originally, right? Like in far away when I was young. And we would often measure the level of brain on a VAS scale. So that's the visual analog scale from like 0 to 100. And 0 would be, I don't have any pain at all. 100 would be like the worst pain you could ever imagine. And people with arthritis, they might rate their daily pain maybe at the level of 60 or 70. And in many of the studies, over a 2 or 3 month period, you can reduce that level by 30 or 40 points, which means that you go from a 70, which means like you're quite bad pain most of the day, to a 30 or 40, which means there's still pain present, but it doesn't really ruin your life anymore.
Yeah.
Those are the improvements that you can generally see in people. And anecdotally, I've even seen much more crazier results with people with rheumatoid arthritis, who Alex gave me a handheld radiotherapy panel. I gave it to the woman who has had rheumatoid arthritis in her hands for like maybe for 20 years. She uses it. I told her like 3 minutes on the front, 3 minutes on the back, and her complaints were gone after a month completely. And then she thought like, oh, I've healed, I don't need to use this anymore. So she gave away her handheld panel, and then after a few weeks she needed it again, and I had to come running back. But yeah, in the arthritis part, the research is extremely promising, and some companies have also been developing very nice products specifically for joint health, which may show a very bright future on this topic. So yeah, sure.
No, that's really good, and you know, if we can take any pain away from arthritis sufferers, especially full body rheumatoid arthritis, you know, that's such an amazing feat to reach. There's a word when it comes to red light therapy, and it's irradiance. We see the manufacturers using this as a sales tool. Can you just give us a brief summary of what's irradiance?
Yeah, so irradiance is the quantity of light. So in the most basic sense, how many waves, particle combinations, photons that are getting into your body. So if you have a higher irradiance, then there's more light coming into your body. There's still discussion about that, there's new discussion about that since a few months maybe, whether higher irradiance means the higher penetration, but generally it has been accepted that higher irradiance means higher penetration. So if you get a panel or whatever tool you use that is higher irradiance, you can generally assume that the light will get deeper into your body, which means that tissues that you would otherwise not treat would get more benefit, right? So,
So generally, the higher the irradiance, the better?
That's a question, because then we go back to what we talked about before. If you're the fibromyalgia patient with diabetes and heart disease, you may want to go easy on at first and stand far away from the panel, because the irradiance or the power output or the quantity of light will be too much for you, and you might get side effects like that, like having red skin, or feeling fatigued, or poor sleep at first, because you're exposed to too much light than compared to what you're used to. It's the same way if you never exercise and then decide to, I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to just try it out and see where I'm going. And then, of course, after the first 10 miles or something, you'll quit and you'll be in a lot of pain because your body is not used to that. And the same way for light, if you're not used to the irradiance, start floating. Same with the eyes, same with the body.
So it's like low and slow approach is what we say with PEMF therapy. So, but if you can take the higher irradiance later down the line, it's better. But to start with, you start lower and slower.
Yeah. And I would even say, just for full scientific disclosure, some people would say that longer and slower is better than high power for shorter.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion on this. I would need to read all the studies. So that's the way I go through all of the topics. I read all of the available studies, then I formulate my own opinion, but I don't just like repeat what other people in the space would say.
Good. So what, last kind of question for you, Bart. If money was no object, what would you look for in a red light system? What are the key factors for you that people should kind of like look for when buying a device?
I would probably get the maximum number of wavelengths, different wavelengths. We've been trending towards that. With Alex and I have covered this topic in our newsletters, and this topic is also a part of the red light therapy comparison video that we put out last year. The more wavelengths is better. I think in time it would even be nice if we have more blue or the green light and the orange light. And there's a UV panel now, which is nice, which I fully support. Or there are a few products with UV light now, which I support. So that's one. Full body treatment if you can afford it. But of course, if you buy bigger products, it's going to be more pricey.
The number of LEDs, does that make a difference? So if you've got a big panel, if you've got a full body panel, does the number of LEDs make a difference?
Sure. I think that makes a difference. And how closely they are clustered together, the more LEDs, it means more light output, right? And then, of course, it's always the question is, what is the irradiance? So that's what my good friend Alex Fergus does. I'm more of the science guy. Alex is more of the review guy, and he will test all the panels with the spectrometer, look at how much light is coming out of there, and then with more LEDs, generally, it's not always the case because there are just some not too optimal products out there, but with more LEDs, you'll have more irradiance, which means more light output, which means more health benefits.
Yeah. No, good. So, I mean, to summarize this episode, really, and the reason why we've brought you on in terms of the PEMF podcast and why we talk about red light therapy, the way you apply the two, especially in a full body application, most of the systems that we sell in the PEMF industry are full body mats that you lay on. So you'd lay on top of the mat. And red light panels, a lot of the time, the best way to apply it, especially a full body red light panel, is to have that suspended above you while laying down, or like you said, up against the door, standing in front of, and that sort of thing. So the two work well together. They work well hand in hand. And like I say, our business, NewMed, where we sell many different PEMF devices, and the brand Celerate has now brought in one that kind of stacks the two together. So it's a perfect combination for us in terms of two therapies that work really well and kind of harmoniously together, and they piggyback on each other's benefits and kind of accelerate those benefits. So it's kind of why we brought Bart on today to explain the benefits of red light therapy, and just putting the two together is kind of a match made in heaven. So if you're sitting there listening to this under a red light panel, maybe you should consider a PEMF to stack with it. Same thing if you're listening to this laying on a PEMF device, maybe you should look into a red light panel. And as Bart's mentioned, Alex Fergus, he's a real kind of expert in the different red light panels and what's out there on the market. So watch some of his videos, and obviously you can ask us any questions you want about red light therapy. Bart, any questions we get come through, we'll ping them off to you, especially if they're directed to you, and hopefully you can help us answer them. And Bart, go for it. You want to?
Sure. Just one comment. If you have any personal questions that you want answered, just come to our Facebook group, Light Therapy Insiders Alex Fergus, and then we can help you, or at least people who have got experience in the community can help you. But we can't think, obviously, because there's almost 10,000 people in there, we cannot answer every question personally, but there's always somebody who is willing to help you with a question that you may have on the topic of red light therapy.
Yeah, so
sorry for interrupting
you.
No,
I was going to say. So where can they find you? I've seen your videos on YouTube as well. So you're quite active. You guys are active on YouTube. And did you say the Facebook group is somewhere that people can contact you?
The Facebook group was Light Therapy Insiders. We have the YouTube channel, which is called Alex Fergus. Alex Fergus Red Light Therapy, I think. And we have the website. The website is lighttherapyinsiders.com. And lighttherapyinsiders.com is where I publish all my deep dive research. Like the eye health articles there, I just published 2 blogs on dosing, which are really, really, really extensive, and which look at all the available research on the topic.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bart. I know it's an early morning for you, and you've come from Mexico. You're coming all the way from Mexico to join us. So thanks again, and hopefully we'll meet up again. Hopefully in London not too soon, because there's another exhibition coming up.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I hope to see you there. Like I said.